Alabanza a Shakyamuni. Maestro, destructor de enemigos, has sido Buda completa y perfectamente despierto, dotado con sabiduría y conducta ejemplar, ido al gozo, timonero que guías los seres ordinarios que aún deben ser domados, Ser supremo, maestro de todos los dioses y los hombres, Buda, destructor de enemigos, glorioso y victorioso Ser Shakyamuni, ante ti me postro y a ti voy por refugio. Maestro, destructor de enemigos, has sido Buda completa y perfectamente despierto, dotado con sabiduría y conducta ejemplar, ido al gozo, timonero que guías los seres ordinarios que aún deben ser domados, Ser supremo, maestro de todos los dioses y los hombres, Buda, destructor de enemigos, glorioso y victorioso Ser Shakyamuni, ante ti me postro y a ti voy por refugio. Maestro, destructor de enemigos, has sido Buda completa y perfectamente despierto, dotado con sabiduría y conducta ejemplar, ido al gozo, timonero que guías los seres ordinarios que aún deben ser domados, Ser supremo, maestro de todos los dioses y los hombres, Buda, destructor de enemigos, glorioso y victorioso Ser Shakyamuni, ante ti me postro y a ti voy por refugio. Sutra del Corazón. Así lo oí. Una vez el bendito estaba residiendo en Rayagrilla, en la montaña llamada Pico del Buitre, junto a una gran asamblea de monjes y una gran asamblea de bodhisattvas. En ese momento, el bendito entró al Samadhi, que expresa el Dharma llamado iluminación profunda, y al mismo tiempo, el noble Avalokiteshvara, el bodhisattva Mahasattva, mientras practicaba la profunda perfección de la sabiduría, vio lo siguiente. Vio que los 5 skandhas son de la naturaleza del vacío. Entonces, por el poder del Buda, el venerable Shariputra le preguntó al noble Avalokiteshvara, el bodhisattva Mahasattva, ¿cómo debe entrenar un hijo o una hija de familia noble que quiere practicar la profunda perfección de la sabiduría? Entonces el noble Avalokiteshvara, el bodhisattva Mahasattva, le contestó al venerable Shariputra, oh Shariputra, un hijo o una hija de familia noble que desea practicar la profunda perfección de la sabiduría, debe practicar así, viendo lo siguiente, que los 5 skandhas son de la naturaleza del vacío. La forma es el vacío también es la forma. El vacío no es otra cosa que la forma no es otra cosa que el vacío. De la misma manera, los sentimientos, las percepciones, las formaciones mentales y la conciencia también son el vacío. Por lo tanto, Shariputra, todos los dharmas son el vacío. No existen las características, no existe el nacimiento ni la cesación, no hay impureza y no hay pureza, no hay merma ni hay aumento. Por lo tanto, Shariputra, en el vacío no hay forma, sentimiento, percepción, formación mental ni conciencia. No hay ojos, oídos, nariz, lengua, cuerpo o mente. No hay apariencias, ni sonidos, ni olores, ni sabores, ni tacto, ni dharma. No hay dhatu de los ojos y así hasta el dhatu de la mente y conciencia. No hay ignorancia ni fin de la ignorancia hasta la vejez y la muerte. No hay fin de la vejez y de la muerte. No hay sufrimiento ni origen del sufrimiento. No hay cesación del sufrimiento, ni sendero, ni sabiduría, ni logro, ni ausencia de logro. Por lo tanto, Shariputra, ya que los bodhisattvas no tienen logros, moran en la profunda perfección de la sabiduría. Como no hay oscuración en la mente, no hay tampoco temor. Trascienden lo falso y alcanzan una total. Todos los Budas de los 3 tiempos, a través de la práctica de la profunda perfección de la sabiduría, despiertan completamente a la iluminación insuperable, verdadera y total. Por lo tanto, el gran mantra de la profunda perfección de la sabiduría, el mantra de la gran percepción, el mantra insuperable, el mantra inigualado, el mantra que calma todo sufrimiento, debe ser conocido como la verdad, ya que no contiene falsedad. El mantra de la profunda perfección de la sabiduría es Bhagavata Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhisattva Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Sangate Bodhisattva Ayata Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhisattva Ayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Samgate Bodhisattva. Por lo tanto, Shariputra, el Bodhisattva Mahasattva debe entrenarse en la profunda perfección de la sabiduría. Entonces el bendito salió del Samadhi y elogió al noble Avalokiteshvara, el Bodhisattva Mahasattva, diciendo: bien dicho, así es. Oh hijo de noble familia, así es. Se debe practicar la profunda perfección de la sabiduría, así como has explicado, y todos los tathagatas se regocijarán. Cuando el bendito dijo estas palabras, el venerable Shariputra y el noble Avalokiteshvara, el Bodhisattva Mahasattva, Y toda la asamblea de dioses, humanos, asuras y gandharvas se regocijaron y alabaron las palabras del bendito. Ofrenda de mandala. Toma de refugio. Voy por refugio hasta alcanzar la iluminación, al Buda, al Dharma y a la Asamblea Suprema, por los méritos que acumule practicando la generosidad y demás perfecciones que pueda obtener el estado de Buda para beneficiar a todos los seres. Voy por refugio hasta alcanzar la iluminación, al Buda, al Dharma y a la Asamblea Suprema, por los méritos que acumule practicando la generosidad y demás perfecciones que pueda obtener el estado de Buda para beneficiar a todos los seres. Voy por refugio hasta alcanzar la iluminación, al Buda, al Dharma y a la Asamblea Suprema, por los méritos que acumule practicando la generosidad y demás perfecciones que pueda obtener el estado de Buda para beneficiar a todos los seres.
Okay. So, most of you have a long day working, but I went afternoon swimming in the ocean. But nevertheless, your all interest to listening for the Buddha Dharma teaching, I think I rejoice for that. And now, from the Buddhist point of view, anything, any challenge, emotional challenge, physical things we can manage. When it comes to the mind and emotion, we need to pay attention really carefully. It is a much more advanced, much more complicated. So, how we take care of our thoughts and feelings. There's a, how we can have a healthy mind and healthy emotion. There's a plenty where there's a healthy body. So healthy emotion, healthy thoughts. So that's kind of like the key thing. So here, two things, and from the Buddhist point of view, not only think this life's, something can happen when you're a child, that kind of like this life's earliest imprints, but from the Buddhist point of view, not only that, imprints can go further than that in previous lifetime. So it is a little bit more further. So, some challenge in our life, it may come through very subconscious, in a very kind of like an imprint. It is not necessarily something that you can figure out, may, kind of like how this happened. And there is some of the Buddhist philosophy understanding. There's a different type of a mental states. There's 8 different type of namshe tsoge, 8 different type of consciousness, and where they function. And then after that, how they are going to become, anything, when our mental process happening, and then they kind of like establish propensity, karmic propensity or karmic imprint in our mind. And for example, when a negative thoughts happens, negative thoughts and emotions coming, how many opportunity or chance we have to, to reversing or to cutting before it becomes imprint. Once it becomes into the imprints, it becomes quite established. Then also there's a way of thinking, once it becomes imprint, what we can do after that, any thoughts and emotions. So every state of a consciousness journey, every state of this kind of process, there is a window and opportunity as an individual person how to purify, how to process. Okay, so that's from the Buddhist point of view, they believe very strong into that. Then, of course, the question, as last time we talked, one thing commonly we all have, I want to get done now, today. I'm not sure there's any solution for that. So again, I think it's important to us to kind of like constantly educating for our own self. Yes, the minute this kind of thought arise, like there's some sense of urgency. I think we need to kind of educate our own self. Okay, let's give me a time, let's give me a space, and when the transformation happens, it will bring me encouragement, and that encouragement is good enough to me to continue whatever practice what I'm doing. Okay, so generally speaking, so now I think a way to work with our thoughts and emotions is not only by, I think from the Buddhist philosophy point of view, this moment, at this time, our mind and body is a very strong interdependency. But from the Buddhist point of view, when it's the mind and emotion, it have almost 3 layers: subtle mind and emotion, extreme subtle mind and emotions. Extreme subtle. Like consciousness is a grossest consciousness, subtle consciousness, extreme subtle consciousness. In the same way, with the emotion, I think same thing. Grossest emotion, subtle emotion, extreme subtle emotions. So subtle emotion or subtle mind and extreme subtle mind. Second and third level of emotion and consciousness are not so much depend into this physical. So there is some kind of freedom. Okay. So, but until we are not able to function and engage through the subtle mind, then we have some kind of a limitation from the physical level. So therefore, wherever thought training or thought transformation or lojong, when you're trying to do it, we not just give only by meditation. No, we have to work through mind and body together, combination, because the element also affects our thoughts and emotions, and thoughts and like also can affect our element. So combination, this is very important. Okay, so like for example, into your daily life meditation practice. If you're doing your own daily life meditation practice, it depends into your own schedule. If you have a little bit of time, before you sit down and doing your practice, I think it's so good to, if you have a time, then if you have time and space, maybe do the long 35 Buddha prostration. Again, obviously you need to have a space and time. But, like in the weekends, most of you have time. And in the weekends, you don't need to do your morning practice morning. I think you can do afternoon. Morning, maybe rest. You get a good rest. And, afternoon, two choices, maybe go shopping or doing your practice. Take a time. You don't have to be very rigorous. And I'm doing morning, so I have to get up morning. Give her your time and space, and kind of do it with a very joyful way. That's that you have the time. So therefore, doing 35 Buddha long prostration, if you can, I think it will be good. It's also accumulates merit. It also softening our physical element. And based on that kind of foundation, then you have a positive thought implementing through your meditation practice. I think there is a good, can have a good result. Your element is already frustrated. You have already kind of like physically stressed there. And then you adding spiritual, your meditating practice, and they may become contradicting. It's not become suitable environment. Okay, so therefore, so that's, I think, one, pay attention. Now, in a thought training, what we have to have is a discipline of our thought. Okay, that's one area to look at it. How we can have some level of discipline and some level of a structure, some level of a kind of like a direction. That's one area. And the second area, and then it have to have some level of a consistent and a concentration into the thought journey. That's, I think, the second level of important. And the third level of, I think, in a thought training, you have to have a clarity. Clarity. Any journey of thoughts, when it have a confusion and a doubt, and then there's no way to move forward. So clarity and focus and consistency and some level of a discipline. Okay, so these three things. So now for existence, like we talked a lot about the frustration and anger. How we apply those three things with transforming our anger and frustration. So now the number one, discipline here, what that means, a discipline. This is a discipline is so much some kind of like a mindfulness discipline. I would say discipline is not so much like you're forcing and you're controlling. Is not about. I'm not talking discipline in terms of controlling, and discipline in terms of the mindfulness, being very aware, because things catch up unexpectedly. It's like an accident. Accident happens by, just in a very last second. You have like, it's similar in kind of that way. Emotional discipline or mindfulness discipline is over here. Basically, kind of like keeping a very aware, so you are not caught in a very surprise. And because of the habit and because of the pattern, there's a tendency to just kind of like caught by surprise, and you have the habit, It's just too late, and just kind of like everything's kind of like it becomes too late to transform me. So therefore, so like I think the mindfulness awareness. Okay, so now that question leads what really means mindfulness. Okay, what is the mindfulness? Conscious awareness. I mean, like, I'm asking you, what you think? What you think? In being present in the moment. So when you say being in the present in the moment, do you reflect in the past and the future? You forget it, or what do you mean?
No, I don't think we can absolutely forget it, but we can't get lost in the past.
Okay, good.
Lost in the future.
You can lost in the present. So present moment means we shouldn't lost in the present, huh? Present moment. So what that really means, being in the present moment, what that really means. Being aware what's happening. Okay?
Just to notice, to observe,
Hmm?
to observe without going through the motion of judging and doing a lot of analyzing.
Okay. So mindfulness is just being fully aware. Fully aware means without judging and just noticing everything what's going on. Okay. You all agree? You all feel comfortable with that? Hmm?
But it seems in a way that you're trying to tell us, if I'm not wrong, that you'll have to have everything, past, present, and future all together, but not being attached to any of those. That's what I'm trying to get from your words.
Okay, I'm not really telling anything right now. I'm just those questions. So, I mean, like things came, what means in a being present moment, what that means. So we got through that, situation, the past and the future. So now, so basically, what really means mindfulness? It's just being aware, okay? And then aware means what? Being in the present moment. So it's kind of like we're trying to get more clarity. So finally, where we right now is just everything's noticing but not judging. So that's so far what we understood, all kind of like agreeing what really is mindfulness is, okay? So you're all sure of that? So, okay, so in the meditation instructions, there's of course, mindfulness, and there's a so-called mental introspection called shishin. Like for example, so mental introspection is the right translation? Mental introspection. Yeah. Okay. So is a mindfulness, is a mental introspection something that is mental introspection is, kind of like observing what's happening, isn't it? It's constantly observing, not necessarily itself is an antidote for anything. So mental introspection and mindfulness, what is the difference? Is mindfulness practice is a concentration practice or not? Concentration practice. This side have to answer something. is a mindfulness practice is a concentration practice or not? No, not at all. Hmm? Is okay, okay. Is not concentration practice, huh? Mindfulness practice. Huh? Yes? No? Okay. Okay, I won't bother you now. Okay. Now, another question. What will be preparation for mindfulness practice? Is there any mental preparation for mindfulness practice? Hmm? Huh? Calm mind.
The mind is agitated, you cannot see.
The calm mind and mindfulness becomes like chicken and egg. Who's first? Okay. So my main question is, what will be preparation, mental preparation for mindfulness? Huh? Concentration? What's that? Okay. Okay. Basically, I think all of you, what you're saying is quite accurate. Generally, mindfulness practice is not necessarily my thinking is it have to be very specific. It is a very broad practice. It have that have many different roles within that practice. Mindfulness practice. Commonly. Non-judging and being aware. In the mind, when we say non-judging, judging is like usually in the English word, judging have some kind of negative connotation or not? Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. You can be judging as a positive or a negative.
Okay. Like, for example, seeing things and saying as this is impermanent, is it judging or not judging? Like, for example, mindfulness practitioner, being present, being aware, and you have things, appear, and you think, if that practitioner feels this is impermanent, is stepping out of mindfulness, and because it's trying to kind of like noticing the nature of that things. So, today's, there's a, it added it non-judging, but what that really means. Should mind be, mindfulness practice is, mind is fully aware, isn't it? And fully noticing what things are. If mind doesn't really noticing what things are, not only being aware, if it don't have a capability of noticing, then how it can be aware? That's kind of like a feeding each other. So when you say not judging, is usually what happens is, you kind of like caught into when you're being aware, you're caught into the thought, and then you're trying to kind of digging with that, and you're kind of imputing all kind of things, and then it's creating its own story, isn't it? Yeah. So mindfulness is trying to undo that, trying to leave it alone, not to get caught into that. But I think there is a certain extent of perspective with the object of feeling, or, you have to have, that's kind of like a function of awareness. When you're being fully aware, you are noticing everything. And when we say noticing, that means, like a clear recognition, right and wrong, what is a right, what is a wrong. Clear recognition is there. But the non-judging means, I think it is a little bit more extreme, more than a recognition, more than, that kind of like a emotional response. But I think it's kind of like a non-judging is, I think it's already, we have a habit. And then I think like much more judging, I think we interpret it, we assume many things, assume, interpret it, editing. We are a great editor. We are freelance editor. Our own emotions and thoughts, we're editing what you like, we don't like, and we, isn't it? So I think non-judging is a part of the mindfulness practices, I think, not going into those areas, okay? Okay, so basically, when I say when I say emotional discipline, a discipline in terms of here, our habit, that habit that's maybe this, maybe that. Yeah. Lately, I have before I came here, a friend of mine, I was just kind of like just asking, there's some things have to be finished, and I just asked her, did you finish that? And then she wrote me back, more than what I asked. She already thought many things. Oh, maybe you want to take this to Puerto Rico, or maybe you do this. There's so many things that I never thought about it. And when she wrote back, oh, maybe I should take something to Puerto Rico. Our human, it bounced back, and then we kind of like make some story, our own story, our own interpretation. And then, like kind of like it goes, I think discipline over here, emotional discipline, mindfulness practice is basically emotional discipline. And, that emotional discipline basically basically not rushing to, sometimes we say rushing out to conclusion. You're rushing to, something to make a conclusion. That kind of like so this kind of a habit need to be kind of like a slow down. And that kind of discipline, when you have like a very, sometimes in a communication also we have to have that kind of mindfulness of a way of communicating. That communication have a more precise, much more, sometimes when you read things, there's so many things saying, then you're trying to figure out what is the essential. And essential can be written in a several sentences, but it has so many takes. So I think in the same way, like mind, speech, any of those areas, I think that's, kind of like having kind of like a much more precise, and the energy is not waste and concentrated. So that kind of like a discipline. Same thing, like sometimes in the food, then we eat so many different foods, and then, kind of like like too much. In same way with the thought, and then we have like too overwhelming thought we expand. Same thing with the speech. It's kind of like it can be done into a very specific simplicity. Basically, emotional and thought simplicity, speech simplicity, that kind of like I think what is the discipline over here we're talking is that kind of like simplifying our thoughts and emotions. That's basically the first step of a discipline, okay? And that really opens a space for us our hard drive is, I say, overloaded. Today you have this terabyte and what? There's different hard drives that carry, what, a terabyte? 2 terabyte, 3 terabyte. Gigabytes, okay. Yeah, so, yeah, so again, simplicity, and that makes a much more calm and peace into our thoughts and emotion, and that makes suitable environment for concentration, I think. With that chaos, the concentration is impossible. So that kind of like a calmness and a simplicity of a thought and emotion, concentration is not a big deal. It have already all the cause and conditions, a conducive environment is there. So the second level of a now when you talk with the concentration, is concentration is something that if you're doing arch, bone and archer, huh? Yeah, and when that person is focusing for the target, it have a kind of like it is a kind of like a focus. It's making some kind of like a controlling or whatever. Now we have to understand what really means a concentration. Concentration is something that you force. Okay, concentration is that you force. We have to understand what really is a concentration. One thing is we can ask very clearly, is our, anger and frustration have a really good concentration or not? Those negative emotions, they do have a, very powerful concentration. Is the concentration bringing the energy, or what really, anger itself is, when you anger, if you take it out of the concentration, anger may be confused. So what really makes anger powerful? What really anger takes over? I think that's we have to look at it. That I think the concentration, it carries the quality of the concentration. So here I think the thought training and the thought transformation, we have to have that concentration. That concentration really moves. Concentration, any kind of like any kind of juice, they say concentrated vitamin C or concentrated, that's, is the concentration have that power, isn't it? So here, so we have to understand really what is the concentration. Is the focus is the concentration, or what really is the concentration? Is the focus and the concentration are same or two different things? What you think?
I guess concentration is your focus, but then maintain focus.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyway, so main thing what I'm trying to tell you is question number one: why anger and those destructive emotions have a very strong concentration? What do you think? Is just part of the package, or why is it getting too much concentration into those emotions? Related to your ego, okay? If you little bit expand that, when you say related with the ego, means because they are so personal, you mean like if you make it simplifies, anger do have a strong concentration because the anger arises because it feels very strong personal. Another work is when it's a personal, it's kind of a very gentle way of saying something really ego-related, strong ego-related. So something personal. Do you think because of that personal, because that's some kind of like a, that emotion is very personal. Why? Because something with the ego related, it really challenge ego. It is really pushing ego, or it comes through ego. Ego is 100% behind that, or so because of that, the concentration comes there. If that is the true, we should bring ego to our meditation practice. We should have some kind of ritual to invoking our ego to our meditation, so we can boost our concentration, and concentration brings the power to transformation. We have to have a good plan now. Okay, so is the ego making effect that the emotion, disturbed emotion, carries this very concentrated power, concentration, or it's just byproduct because of the anger? It's just part of that concentration takes place. Okay, so. I think you are right. To get the whole energy of our existence to get into one point, something have to be very personal. We have to. It's a common experience. Okay, so far our examples are much more comes with either anger or, do we have any history that I have a full, my energy is a kind of like a single pointed into the virtue. So you have a very, very little history. So here, in a concentration, now related with a virtue or related with a positive karma, the concentration, like for example, when you do a compassion meditation, when you do a refuge meditation, when you do a bodhicitta meditation, how I built.
For instance, I thought that when we get focused with anger, this is the language of the ego. But on the other side, if we generate devotion, we can apply and have focus in the positive way, not with the anger, with devotion.
Yeah. Devotion is a personal, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Devotion is a personal. And of course, in our level, in the beginning level, devotion involves with the ego. That's okay. Ego does sometimes good things. I think that's so now the key thing over here, way to building concentration, we have the ego have to involve. So that's, we have to understand that. So, but we channel the energy of the ego with the devotion, with the positive emotions. Okay, so that's kind of like we not totally see as a negative as the ego involvement. Okay. So now basically where what I'm trying to tell you communicate is like, for example, practice of a shine. Everybody, like for example, any kind of realization. Realization is all of once we want to develop realization, and realization require step number one, shine. Realization into impermanent, realization into any kind of shine is mandatory. Okay, concentration. Shine is something is a concentration training. It's a mandatory. Okay. so how we developed like a shine and how we develop concentration. Uh, okay, and you know, you see usually there's 9 different stages where we're training concentration and so on and so forth. But again, one thing important is that devotion and conviction. Devotion and conviction becomes a fundamental cause to cultivating shine, fundamental cause to cultivating concentration training. Concentration is not so much like that, you know, it's not kind of like a forcing, you are kind of like a pushing, but it is something that comes through very joyfully. It have to have a certain extent of spontaneity, not totally, but something comes through your side. It's not something that your intellect and your master's telling, or you know. So therefore, devotion and convictions are fundamental foundation for developing concentration. So now the fundamental what I'm trying to say over here is like, you know, you're trying to sit down and trying to do a shine meditation, and your thoughts can go all around the place, and you'll notice that and get surprised. Then first thing what will go is like, this is not possible. This is not for me. Maybe I'm in the wrong place. You know, all kind of thoughts, you know, but nevertheless, you're being patient, you're calm down, and then slowly kind of it gives a break for you. And, you know, okay, that's fine, you know, I can go through this. Now, now in the so, but still, you can kind of like you bring your, you know, focus or concentration back. You know, it's go back. You know, it's kind of like distract. You bring back. You know, that kind of like a. You might do that for 1 week or 2 weeks or 3, but then you can't do this rest of your life. The practice doesn't become a practice. It may become torture. Should I do this? I stay and bring it back. And then that become quite torture, isn't it? So now we have to have another solution. We have to have it is that either we need to just forget about it, or now another solution is like, you know, basically where we look, we should look for something inspiration, okay? And in anything, when the inspiration is a personal, okay? And inspiration brings that devotion and that connection, and due to that, obviously, you know, concentration becomes very effective and very natural. So, so then, if if we're doing this for a week and it is nothing getting better, then I think we need to invest our session into some kind of develops inspiration. Then you time being a little bit let go in kind of building that shine, and then, you know, where you look for your source of inspiration. Now, when we say inspiration, we usually kind of think, you know, like how I can get inspiration. Should I read some book? Or should I listen for some teaching? We really look for something external. You know, that's how, you know, I'm waiting for inspiration. The inspiration didn't arrive. It was delayed. So now we have to understand You know, sometimes we say happiness is within our own self, but we have a habit for looking for happiness in some way. And I think the same thing with the inspiration is within our own self, and but we look inspiration into the books, different, you know. So now, how we look in the inspiration within our own self, how we get in, how we can be inspired by our own existence rather than looking for something. Basically, if we, our habit to look in the inspiration for something, we are totally giving our freedom up. It is the same thing like 8-volume Monday. So here, what is the source of inspiration within the myself? So I think that's the question. And I think, you know, sometimes you look at within the myself, am I in a source of inspiration? No way. Maybe you may tell immediately yourself, no way, I'm not source of inspiration. No, I'm bad, I'm nobody. And then we're trying to beat up. You know. So now here, this, you know, we have so many dirt piled up. You know, the minute you say, I am a source of inspiration, no way, you're trying to laugh or whatever you're going to do it. So here, some level of a purification that we need to take within our own self. You know, that dirt need to be, take it out, okay? And to be able to do that, now, since of self-judgmenting, you know, like we have this is very, I mean, like we have to be, we need to challenge our own self, yes. We need to push more further, yes. We shouldn't become like, I'm totally good, I'm fine, and I don't need to be improved, and being totally relaxed. And that's not encouraging, okay? That may become like a self-deception, okay? Now, and another extreme, you know, self-judging in a very negative way, that's also very extreme, okay? So now, you know, basically, step number one is, I think, that kind of like a self-critical need to be, you know, some way through the practice of a mindfulness and so on and so forth. We need some kind of level of purification need to be done, and then based on that, then I think there is a window in space to bringing our inspiration within our own self. Okay, so self-critical, self-judgment that need to be purified, and so that's I think very important. Now, from the Buddhist philosophy point of view and the Buddhist way of thinking, you know, any type of meditation you do, you know, of course, as a foundation, you know, step number one is we have to connect with our own self in some level of a positive. It is kind of like a way when you're going into the meditation practice. You know, for example, when you're trying to transform your intention, step number one, you have to feel some kind of positive towards to yourself. And the positive towards to yourself is you know, looking from different perspective and seeing positive. When you look at from the negative point of view, yeah, of course you'll see negative, but you know, that's the part of the meditation practice. You have to look at it, some way to find that positive. You know, so far, you know, we feel like negative all the time because we have the habit, and we invest so much into that habit. So, you know, there's no space for looking into that. So, you need to be some kind of reversing that kind of pattern. So, like for example, you know, if you know, in a Lamrim meditation in a precious human rebirth, you know, basically, it is a, you know, it have a different, in a different time, in a different culture, in a different time. You know, there's a way of looking different. And even today's, there was a way to look at it a very different. We can apply in a different. preciousness or positiveness. Now over here, positive and negative is a very relative reality, is not kind of inherent and truly existent reality. So things need to be put together from the relative reality point of view and then cultivate satisfaction and joyfulness and inspiration. I think the, that's the one way to look at it, as a source of inspiration within our own self. And then another from the Buddhist point of view, it sees, concept of Buddha nature that we all carry, enlightened mind within our own self. So that's kind of like a very powerful statement and a very powerful acknowledgement for our own self. So that's, and through that also creates fundamental respect and appreciation for another living being too. So basically, once we able to create or develop or bring inspiration from within our own self, then I think easily, and the rest of we can able to bring the inspiration and respect in all that kind of things. Okay. Okay. So. Okay. So where we're talking about meditation discipline. Somehow we got instead. Okay. So we finished the first part. Now the second part, the concentration area. So basically, concentration requires inspiration. So that's what we are really talking about. Okay. Now the clarity. The third level of that is clarity. So here question comes doubt, and how was a doubt in a Buddhist philosophy point of view, doubt is valued so much. They say doubt is good, but same time they say you shouldn't be on a doubt. Doubt treated in many different ways, but which you doubt makes you need to question. From that point of view, doubt opens for further investigation. If you don't doubt, you immediately just kind of believe it, and you just kind of lots of doors are just closed, and you just kind of like simplify it. Okay. Now, doubt as a source of inquiring from that kind of point of view, doubt was really valued. Doubt. The minute you hear doubt, you shouldn't kind of like feel negative. You shouldn't do a Vajrasattva practice to purify the doubt. Maybe you looked at it, hey, that's question, that's coming, what's this, what is really looking for that? So doubt as considered from that point of view, doubt is considered as a very reasonable, very, even, there's some kind of like a, simpler, if I put a simple kind of like a map, and a doubt transforming into a correct assumption, and a correct assumption transforming into the valid cognition, and the valid cognition and transforming into a direct yogi experience, basically experience of a very non-dualistic. Okay, so it's kind of like a journey, it can be taken. Okay, so now, and when from the Buddhist philosophy point of view, doubt have a kind of three different layers. Doubt that's kind of like a more tendency going into the wrong view. Doubt which have a more tendency to go take the right view or right direction, and doubt which have a tendency in the both, kind of like an equal state of doubt. We can, roughly, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that can be there. Now, okay. So clarity. So basically, the third one, the clarity. So to able to thought transformation happen, am I tricking my thought and emotion, or it is something reality-based? And I think this is, am I kind of just tricking? Am I tricking? Am I twisting? Sometimes you can trick and make some calm and peace and compromised. So thought transformation it requires the clarity. Is the clarity is it trick or is it reality based? So that's kind of like a fundamental question. So that leads to the question: what is the reality? What is the reality? What is the reality? In the physical world, there's some things, okay. That's okay now, maybe. I don't want to give you a more headache because you're already in office. Maybe your boss may give already big headache already. So now, Lojong. There's Lojong or Logyuru, or there's one is through the meditation of emptiness. Through that you transform your thoughts and emotions, and one is through meditation of compassion. Basically, fundamentally, it comes to two methods. And again, meditation and compassion is a path to transforming the thoughts, transforming the ego, fundamentally. So, when we say thought training, Lojong, is it really transforming the ego? Okay. That's really what we, and the ego is the source of our human intention. Okay, that's, yes, before we talked a lot about how to transform our human intention. What is the source of our human intention? Where our human intention comes up? And our ego grasping is the, how you say, the fuel, the seed, the base where the intention are moved. Thank you. Where are you going? So, yes, it's good. Okay. Had to visit the restroom? No?
That is an example of intention.
Okay. 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 So, again, early class we talked lots about in transforming human intention. So, transforming human intention, we need to understood our human ego grasping, and our human ego grasping is the source of our human intention. Okay. So, Lojong in the thought training, Lojong is what really, anger comes from the ego. craving comes from ego. Okay, it is an ego-based emotion. Okay, so Lord Zhong thought training is really trying to train the ego. So which kind of training happening over here is ego behavior. We are trying to change or transform ego behavior. What is the ego behavior? If you look at very carefully, ego behavior is the ego is really protected and personal. That's the ego's marketing strategies for us. It's I'll give you a protection, and it's very personal. That's the ego's, I say, marketing plan. Huh? Slogan. Ego's basically, we caught into the ego's trick because it says it is a very personal. It says, I want to protect you, and I want to be a very personal. So that's it, we caught into the. So here, thought training is really, that's the way everything is starting, or everything is getting caught. So here it's trying to interfere here in this area. Ego is important, ego is a part of my life, but ego's business plan need to be interfere. This ego behavior, So, Lord Zhong taught training. Training is really what your training is. In Shantidevas, in the Bodhisattva way of life, in the 8th chapter, and there is one list about way to training into practice of equanimity. And there's like a 9 round or something way of training into equanimity. And basically, it is really tackling or pushing the ego behavior, how it behaves. And it really is trying to change the behavior. By changing the behavior, it takes a big, ego itself is not necessary to be a negative. When it behaves a certain way, it creates huge trouble. When it behaves in a certain way. It's the same thing like with the person. A person itself is not necessary to be there, but when that person starts to behaving very strange way, the behavior that really annoys you, then that's that behavior. So here it's same thing, that it is not trying to condemn the person itself, but it is really looking to way to transform that behavior of that person. Same thing how the behavior of the ego. Okay. Basically, in a lojong, in the thought training, what is trying to happen is a concept of a personal is trying to open more further, because the ego is some way to finding, that concept of a personal made very narrow, and it is like a sweet. When you have like a sweet, it's immediate. It's very effective and immediate. And when the ego comes with that kind of approach, narrow and personal, it is a very immediate and immediate. It kind of like a sugar. It gives you what you call a rush. It gives a very quick rush. So that's, and I think the same thing. So here, I think. Thought training is trying to change the ego behavior, but then behavior in the concept of a personal is trying to open more further. So that's really what it's trying to interfere here, lojong and thought training. So the more in that behavior, when you expand, I think we become much more relaxed. We become much more tolerant. We become much more patient, patient without layback. Sometimes the patient is like kind of relaxed and not responding. It's not necessarily like that. You can be very, very alert and active without kind of like a reacting, without kind of such an explosion. So again, the basically expansion of a concept of a personal. Boundary of a personal is pushing more further. Okay. Okay. Which really becomes in a practice of a compassion, and a practice of equanimity, and a practice of, like for example, Lojong, 8 verses of mind training. And there's a 7 point of a mind training. There's all these different type of a mind training. When you look at it, it is really in a way to transform ego behavior. It's have this whole different steps. Okay. Okay. I planned to put all the question here and answer while I'm talking. I hope I'm answered, but I'm not sure I answer the whole thing. Okay. There's a several, you put a question about impermanent. Okay. I'll talk a little bit about impermanent. From the Buddhist practice point of view, and also philosophical point of view, I think there's 2 things. All the emotional challenge that we've faced in this life, immediate antidote is a meditation of impermanent. Okay, immediate antidote. And the meditation of impermanent, 2 layers. One thing is a meditation of that impermanent. And the meditation of that impermanent is not something that, yeah, obviously we all know we're going to die. We all know, obviously, that intelligent recognition is there, but the emotional recognition is not so much there about that impermanent, okay? So when you say emotional recognition, what that means is basically it's not about, yeah, we're going to die, nobody going to stay forever, yeah, we'll do that. It's not something like that. It have a wider picture, where I'm here, what I'm dealing, what is my reality. It's kind of like a 3-dimension way of looking, emotional recognition of that impermanent, where I'm here, what I'm facing and going through, and what is my final destination, or where I'm going to. It is kind of like a 4-sided. It's not just like an intelligent, yeah, nobody's going to stay forever. Yeah, I know that. It's not something like that. It is a seeing that kind of like a grossest level of impermanent through seeing some kind of like a 4-sided. And then that makes basically it kind of like a push you to look into your own life into different point of view, basically. Okay, it shifts the view of a life slightly different. And when you shift the view of a life slightly different, the priority of a life slightly shifts. Everything slightly shifts. And that makes all the emotional challenge and emotional illusions are kind of like destructives. Okay, so that's one layer of a meditation of impermanent, and the subtle level of a meditation of impermanent. Is basically emotional grasping, emotional craving. Fundamentally, you're free from emotional grasping, freeing from that. Okay, that's what's subtle impermanence in meditation. It is. Basically, you're creating immediate liberation within the yourself. That subtle meditation about impermanent creates liberation, immediate. I mean, like, it is not the liberation entire, but you create certain liberation and nirvana within the yourself by doing that subtle meditation about impermanent, okay? Meditation about impermanent in a Buddhist, from the Buddhist philosophy point of view and Buddhist practice point of view, it is a source of a courage. I mean, it's a courage, courage and fearlessness. It is a meditation of impermanent. It becomes kind of like a source of courage and fearlessness. I think that's quite good news. Let's stop here, isn't it? Okay. So now this answer for this one, maybe before we stop this one, we do some Tara mantra, and we do a little bit of Vajrasattva mantra. If you know, you can recite together. So because the question is, what should you practice before going to bed? Okay. So we'll do some Tara mantra recitation. Then after that, we'll do the Vajrasattva mantra. First Tara, yeah.
Om tare tu re soha, 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 om tare tu re soha. Om tare tu re soha, 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 om tare tu re soha. Om tare tu re soha, 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 om tare tu re soha. Tare tu re soha, om 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 tare tu re soha. Om tare tu re soha, 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 om tare tu re soha. Om tare tu re soha, tutare, ture, soha.
Om benza sadhu
Samaya manupalaya bensa sattva teno patista dido me bhava sutokayo me bhava supokayo me bhava anurato me bhava sarva siddhi me prayacha sarva karma susame sitam chiryam kuru ha 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 ho bhagavan Sarva tata kata vashrama me muza vashrabhava mahasamaya sato ahum sato samaya manupalaya vashra sattva teno patista dido me bhava sutokayo me bhava supokayo me bhava Anurato me bhava sarva siddhi me prayacha sarva karma susame sitam chiryam kuru ha 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 ho bhagavan sarva tata gata vashrama me mujya vashrabhava mahasamaya sato ahum Vajra sattva samaya manupalaya Vajra sattva teno patista dido me bhava sutokayo me bhava supokayo me bhava anurato me bhava sarva siddhi me prayacha sarva karma susame sitam chiryam kuru ha 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 ho bhagavan Tata gata vashrama me muza vashrabhava mahasamaya sato ahum te vajra sattva samaya manupalaya vajra sattva teno patista dido me bhava sutokayo me bhava subokayo me bhava anurato me bhava Sarva siddhi me prayacha sarva karma susame sitam chiram kuru ha 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 ho bhagavan sarva tata gata vashrama me muza vashrabhava mahasamaya sato ahum vajra sattva samaya manupalaya vajra sattva teno patista Dido me bhava, sutokayo me bhava, supokayo me bhava, anurato me bhava, sarva siddhi me prayacha, sarva karma susame, sitam chiram kuru, ha 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 ho bhagavan. Takata vashrama me muja vashrabhava mahasamaya sato ahum Om vajra sattva samaya manupalaya vajra sattva teno patista dido me bhava sutokayo me bhava supokayo me bhava Anurato me bhava sarva siddhi me prayacha sarva karma susame sitam chiryam kuru ha 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 ho bhagavan sarva tata gata vashrama me vashrabhava mahasamaya sato
Okay, we'll do the dedication.
Oración de larga vida y luego dedicación. Madre Tare, liberando del samsara. Tu Tare, liberando de los 8 temores. Tara, Madre que liberas, por favor otorga el don de la longevidad. Por las bendiciones de los gurus y del linaje, por los logros espirituales de los Yidan, dioses y diosas, por los métodos hábiles de las dakinis y los protectores del Dharma, que podamos realizar gozosamente la esencia de nuestras esperanzas. Gendun Tenzin, eres afable, benevolente y bondadoso. Por favor, permanece con nosotros durante una larga vida. Expande tus actividades iluminadas en todas las direcciones y continúa madurando y sustentándonos a mí y a todos los seres sintientes. Desde este momento y durante todas nuestras vidas, manténnos bajo tu tutela. Sé nuestro amigo, nuestro divino y virtuoso guía. Limpia la degeneración de la ignorancia. Ayúdanos a realizar rápidamente por los senderos y caminos y a alcanzar los 3 cuerpos de un Buda, por la verdad de la realidad incambiable y por la bendición conjunta de la indestructible Sangha, que la esencia de estas oraciones se logre rápidamente. Que por los méritos de esta virtud pueda alcanzar rápidamente el estado de un Guru Buda y pueda llevar a este estado a todo ser sin excepción. La mente de iluminación es suprema y muy preciada, que donde no ha surgido surja, que donde ha surgido no disminuya, que cobre cada vez más fuerza. La visión correcta del vacío es suprema y muy preciada, que donde no ha surgido surja, que donde ha surgido no disminuya, que cobre cada vez más fuerza. Así como el valiente Manjushri y Samantabhadra distinguieron los fenómenos tal cual son, yo también dedico estos méritos en la mejor forma, siguiendo su ejemplo perfecto. Dedico todas estas raíces de virtud con la dedicación que es considerada la mejor, por los victoriosos asidos de los 3 tiempos, para poder realizar todas las buenas obras.